Hello everyone. Welcome to the psychology course. We will continue with chapter 5, learning. In this chapter, we will firstly talk about nature of learning, then theories of learning, behavioral theories of learning, cognitive theories of learning, and lastly, social learning theory. Let's start with the nature of learning. Although the term learning is associated with educational settings, it bears a whole other meaning within the realm of psychology. First of all, learning as a matter of research in psychology is not unique to humans. It actually refers to the adaptation process that an organism goes through to balance with the changing environmental conditions. The learning process is grounded on 5 main components: learner, what is learned, learning strategy, learning support, and learning environment. Indeed, each and every factor that can influence these components during a learning process will eventually be influential over the behavior either directly or indirectly. Remember the definition of learning. The change in a behavior has to be a result of an organism's own experience. This emphasis puts factors about a learner in front of all other factors because they are directly definitive over learning. These factors include species-specific readiness, maturing, arousal, transfer, motivation, cognitive readiness, physical fit, and active participation. Let's look into theories of learning. Learning theories should be viewed as different approaches on the path leading to an explanation of how learning actually happens. All learning theories can be grouped under 3 major perspectives: behaviorist, cognitive, and social learning theories. While the behaviorist approach mainly focuses on observable behaviors, cognitive understanding seeks to unravel what lies behind the observable behavior. Social learning theory, on the other hand, tries to explore how an individual learns within her or his social environment. For a more accurate understanding, we will try to understand each theory in more detail. Let's try to understand behavioral theories of learning. In the late 19th century, the Russian psychologist Ivan Pavlov, designated with a Nobel Prize, marked the foundation of classical conditioning. Almost simultaneously, Thorndike, famous for his research into animal learning in the United States of America, documented the impact of reward and punishment on behavior. Classical conditioning is the learning that manifests based on producing the response observed after a specific stimulus with a different and neutral stimulus. Pavlov was carrying out experiments on the digestive system of dogs together with his assistant. He noticed that the dog in the laboratory used to start salivation whenever the assistant walked into the lab. He tried to explore the relation between the assistant and the dog's response via systematic observations. Eventually, he understood that the real relation was not between the assistant and the dog's response, but the assistant and the meat. So, the dog built a link between the assistant and the meat and responded to the arrival of the assistant, assuming meat would be presented. In operant conditioning, we'll learn about the link between a behavior and the consequence of that behavior. As noted by the experiments, operant conditioning signifies that a behavior is determined by its own consequences. Remember that there are 2 components of behavior according to behavior analysis: stimulus and response. Operant conditioning adds one more component to the analysis: consequence. Let's move on to cognitive theories of learning. Cognitive theorists regard learning as a consequence of effort people exert to make sense of the world. Learning approaches based on cognitive theories of learning are as follows: purposive behaviorism, insight learning, and information processing. Purposive behaviorism is mainly a cognitive learning theory developed by Tolman. Tolman suggested that an organism can learn without any reinforcement process. According to him, if a behavior serves a goal, it can be learned. If not, it cannot. Tolman supported this view of his via labyrinth experiments he conducted with rats. Insight learning is an approach for learning or problem solving. It was discovered by Kohler and was based on Gestalt psychology. In Gestalt psychology, the critical component of perception is the relation between the whole and its parts. Experiments that Kohler conducted on chimpanzees during the First World War outlined the characteristics of this learning type. Information processing is not a learning theory per se. Yet, it is one of the most widespread cognitive models developed recently to understand the cognitive dynamics of human learning. According to the information processing model that focuses more on human learning, an individual is capable of transferring a piece of information that he or she learns at some point to different contexts. This proves that an individual is able to store what he or she learns in her or his mind. Our last topic for today is social learning theory. According to social learning theory, the main factors determining psychological development are environment and cognitive processes. Learning through observation is the dominant concept in social learning theory, suggested by Albert Bandura in 1977. The name of the theory was updated to cognitive social learning theory based on the importance of cognitive characteristics such as beliefs, sense of self, self-competencies, and expectations. Bandura stated that people learn through observation. Social learning theory differs from behaviorist theories in two aspects. First, social learning theory states that there are intermediary variables between stimulus and response. These variables are the individual, her or his cognitive characteristics, and environmental features. Second, behaviors are learned through observation, not reinforces. Learning through observation, as described by social cognitive learning theory, is realized via 4 steps. These are attention, retention, production, and motivation. So, this is the end of our program for Chapter 5 of the Psychology course. Goodbye, and see you in our next program, Chapter 6.